Now another experiment. I call it the cattle prod experiment. And with this experiment, I'm making a point or two. Some people felt upset about me ridiculing certain practices, religious practices. It's not really ridiculing it. You'll see. I suggest to anybody who doesn't like it, who doesn't like me for that, to convince their priest or whomever they follow and pay their tithing or membership fees if allowed, not to ridicule all that has value for me. Then they can talk again. Above all, no one who does not want to do so is required to perform the following experiment. First, let's fantasize ourselves into an imaginary journey. Imagine yourself traveling to a tribal society somewhere in some area far away, not quite explored yet. Needs to be or should be ideally a tribal society that has never heard about civilization as we know it. And among our equipment, among your equipment, you have a cattle prodder. You know, the thing that causes electric shocks when you touch a person with it. And since you know some of the religious beliefs of that society, you make some image at the right time, at the sacred time of the year maybe, and in a traditional shape you adapt to it. And then you connect this image with your cattle prodder. Chances are that with such a contraption you can convince those folks of your divine nature and of your spiritual connection with their sky of gods. It all works because of several reasons. First of all, those good folks have no idea of electricity, and at the same time they certainly can feel the shocks. They may think that the shock they get is the power of their gods. Another important facet of your experience is that you adjusted to the existing belief structure. If you did not do so, they would. And such a thing could be quite risky, since electric shocks are a little bit painful. And the connection with the demonic force is always an easy to do assumption in this case. As far as the feeling of life energy is concerned, most of our civilizations compare well to the jungles, somewhere where you have those tribal societies, maybe New Guinea or Amazon or whatever. And relatively few people know that life force exists. Still less people know that they can actually feel life force. The majority of people deny its very existence. And when selling my organ generators, I let people feel the energy at a distance. And this made me realize that about 95% of the people feel life force, whether they believe in it or not. Plus, water treated with life force tastes quite different. It's a taste before and after, due to the fact that physical characteristics of matter are changed under the influence of life force. All this naturally is a fertile ground for our cattle prodder experiment. And all you need to do is adjust somewhat to the existing mainstream religion. I did the experiment the following way. In a Christian bookstore I bought a cross that measured about 6 inches in length. Funny thing was that it was made in communist China. Apparently when it comes to money, some of those commercially adept folks, religious or not, obviously like a deal with the devil. I drilled a 1/4-inch hole from the top to the center of the cross. Then I took a small jewelry-type crystal, broke it in two. 1/2 of it I inserted in the hole, stuffed some paper on top of it to hold it in place, and then plugged the hole with a wood filler, which had about the same color as the cross. The other half of the crystal I put on the well of an operating chi generator. And now the cattle prodder was in operation and ready to use. What I did next is having some of my Christian acquaintances feel it. I made a few commentaries about the power of God coming from the cross. And most people feel this life energy when they hold the palm of their hands about 1 inch or 2, you know that already, above the center of the cross. Because what happens is that when I broke the crystal, the surfaces are perfectly identical. So you have a perfect structural link. Got it? Energy comes from the chi generator, regardless where it is. Can be a few miles away, can be on another continent. And when they feel this energy under the appropriate circumstances, they are quite logically induced to think that it is truly the power of God that emanates from the cross. When they feel a slight breeze rather than warmth, I like to continue with the fun by referring to the passage in the Old Testament that mentions how King David felt the presence of the Lord as a gentle breeze. A cattle prauler like this will sure provide you with a lot of fun, and perhaps you may even become inclined to organize a church. Now, going back to a few things I said, why does it work? And the answer is in the crystal. The two parts of the crystal form an excellent structural link. The obvious linkage consists of the breaking surfaces, which are very similar, and a second linkage is also in the subtle structure of the crystal itself, intricacies of the crystal grid, which are the same throughout this original crystal. So, in both parts, that subtle structure is identical. And from the previous lesson, you know already that the person who holds the palm of the hand above the center of the cross will draw life force from the chi generator, where the second half of the crystal serves as a structural link. Good experiment. The near identical structures of the two crystal parts makes the transfer from chi generator to cross easy, provided somebody pulls it. And instead of the crystal, you can also work with a scribble, any other graphic identical designs which you can copy twice. Put one of the copies inside the cross and the other copy on the chi generator. And then just have fun with your friendly neighborhood fundamentalists. And as I said, if it's not your idea of having fun, feel free to skip this practice, of course.